Bert, what's up, man?
Bobby Bones, I am a fan, buddy.
There is no way. Let me say this, because I'm a
No,
massive fan of
dude,
yours, but
I'm
there's
a
no
fan.
way you
I'm a
even know
fan,
who
and
I
I know
am.
intimate stuff about you. I'm a fan, and I know intimate stuff about you.
Okay, listen, let's start with this. Because here's what I want to say about you, Bert, is that my wife tells me that everything's not a bit. Because I think everything is a bit that I either do on the show or on a stage. She goes, everything's not a bit. With you sharing such personal information about your life in certain places, are you ever told, hey, this ain't a bit. You can't do all this all the time?
Yeah. My daughter had this, said something absolutely hilarious to me. I can't even reference what it's in regards to, but she said something absolutely hilarious to me that is one of the worst things you could say to another person. And I put it in my last special Razzle Dazzle, and she saw it. She goes, "Yeah, you got to take it out." I was like, "What?" She's like, "That was a secret. These are some things are secret, Dad." And so I offered her 10 grand, and she turned it away. And then I got to 100 grand. I said, "I'll give you $100,000 for this bit." She's like, "Dad, when you die, I get all your money."
Wait, was it already up and then you took it, or was it just done?
It was posted. So the way Netflix works, you send in your final whatchamacallit, and then they got to upload it to the server. They had to take it off the server and re-edit the special.
And for $100,000,
Dang.
she would have.
Yeah.
Man, that's okay. I like it. Good. I don't feel so
It's
alone.
all, but hey, everything's fair game to me to a fault, to a fault. And I forget that not everyone's like that, you know? So like my wife, I have pilfered that poor woman's life. I mean, I talked about her giving birth. I talked about her farting at intimate times of love. I've talked about everything, and that woman has rolled with it.
Is she funnier than you?
No.
Oh, okay. Because my wife's funnier than I am, and it's like it sucks because she doesn't even care to be public. She doesn't want to be public. She's better at what I get celebrated for. So when I go home, I'm not even the most talented at what I do for a living.
I'll tell you something, Bobby. I was at dinner one time, and like they always say that all the ladies. Yeah, I bet you're the funny one at home. And Leanne's like, I am the funny one. I said to her, and in front of everyone, I said, "Do you have any idea how insulting that is? My comedy has paid for our lifestyle, the house that we're throwing this dinner party in, your car, our cell phones, her college. To think that you're the funny one at home is a slap in the face to what I do for a living, woman."
But does she really feel that way? Then she stops saying it.
No, no, no.
Okay.
So Leanne's funny in her own. I'll tell you what. Here's the interesting part. Leanne and Georgia are the two Jiminy Crickets in our life. Like they witness funny stuff and they'll point it out. I'm not good at knowing what's funny, and neither is Isla. Isla and I live like a really untethered life, and Georgia and Isla will point it out. Like my closing bit for Razzle Dazzle about the escape room, I was on stage in I think in Jersey, and Georgia just called from college. When a college student calls, you answer no matter what. I'm on stage. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm on stage." She said, "Hey, are you telling the escape room bit?" And I was like, "No, that's not. I don't have it. It's not a bit." She goes, "You should tell that." And I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, remember Papa threw Nana into the wall?" And I was like, "Oh," and the room laughs, right? She walked me through this bit, and I was not telling it, and it became my closer.
Does she ever improve a? My wife will improve jokes for me. I'll go, what about this? And she's like, what if you said this here? And I'm like, I get so offended, but then it's always better. Does your wife ever do that with you?
Yeah, there's a joke I have right now about my wife's family is real redneck, and they she has like they're she has two cousins who are married, and they was saying they go they kin but they ain't blood. That's how they defend it. And it's I turned it into a whole bit, and it's doing well. And then it didn't do well at the store the other night. And Leanne, I gets in the car. She has great comic instincts, and she goes, "It's too mean. You're being too mean. Like you need to soften it. Like they're my family. You got to pretend like you like them." And it's just coming off mean. Leanne is really insightful in business, in instincts, in like I mean I did a series called The Cabin on Netflix. She went through and watched every edit and gave notes. I couldn't even watch the thing. I get so embarrassed. And so, but Leanne did that. She goes through everything with a fine tooth comb. She edits all my specials. She like sits in the edit bay and goes, and she's brutal. She'll be like, "Get to the funny, get to the funny. Why are we thanking Omaha? Get to the funny. Just get to it."
Do people, because media is so fractured, fame is so fractured, what even is fame anymore, but do people recognize you now as the guy on TikTok who has a podcast more than the guy that does stand-up or more than the guy that has TV shows? Like, do you ever just get you're the guy I watch on TikTok?
Yeah, I actually get that a lot. You're the Kool-Aid guy. Oh, I saw you on TikTok. You're the guy that, yeah, you're the naked guy on TikTok. It's crazy, especially when you see grown men that do it. And you're like, are you on TikTok? Like I have a TikTok, but I have a TikTok that I use, but I have a team that just posts my videos to it. Like I'm not on. I'm on Instagram. I'm an old man. I'm on Instagram. And my daughters have burner accounts. And so I have a burner account on TikTok, and my daughter's burner account showed up in my feed. And I gave it to my assistant. I was like, look at it. Tell me if there's something I need to know.
I once had somebody I was in a meet and greet, and they were like, hey, because I had on clear glasses, and they said, hey, is there any way you would go get your normal glasses and put them on and so I could take a picture with you? And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. So I did it, but I was thinking about you before this interview. Do people ever go, hey, would you take your shirt off so I can get a picture with you with your shirt off?
Yeah. Oh, last night we were at the Lakers game, and these fans, we were in a box, and it was a bunch of very famous, like the most famous comedians in the world. And these fans were taking pictures, and then they're like looking at me and they're going, take your shirt off. And I'm like, can't I just be standing next to can't I just be on Mount Rushmore instead of having like take your shirt off?
And how often do you do it, though? Because you still, I saw you hitting a golf ball at one of these events, and you took your shirt off to hit the golf ball. Like, you still, like I have to as well at times, have to do it. But are you starting to do it less and less?
No, I don't. I definitely, there is a line, but like, it's addictive. It's like, you ever wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm not drinking tonight. And then after you work out and you get through your day, and then at like 4 o'clock, you're like, oof, I want to drink. Because it's that first drink. That first drink is the one that tickles you. That's what's taking your shirts off. Like, it's like, it really tickles me. Like, it makes me, like, you rip it off and there's always a big pop whenever you rip it off. And it just, whatever I'm about to do, it adds to it. It makes it just a little bit better. Like a little sprinkle of fairy dust.
Let's talk about the movie, The Machine. A couple things that I want to say. First is, it's a question about comedy movies because there aren't as many. I mean, back 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we lived for them, old school. I mean, we can just list them all. It was one after the other, and it's what I look forward to. Why is there a void of these movies like yours, The Machine, but where are the comedy movies?
I think it has to do with price point, in all honesty. Is that what happened is there was a heyday of comedy movies because they could make it at a great price point. And so, like, these early Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson, Will Ferrell, those movies were all made for I was just kind of a conversation about this last night, for like 30 million, I think, 50 million. And the early ones, the beginning ones, the ones that were like were the ones we loved. And you could always make money back. People were going to theaters. And then as streamers started to show up, you couldn't make money back on the price point that these guys needed to make their money, right? And so I think it was just a thing of price point. So they made The Machine for, I think, 20 million because they can. I think what it is you need, I think Hollywood got scared off. Woke culture scared everyone off a little bit. Because, I mean, some of what they would say in these old comedies is absolutely atrocious now. Like, you watch it, you're like, woo, paging Doctor Who. And so, but what I think there is happening now is there's a bunch of comics that have gotten platforms on their own through podcasting and stand-up. And I think I'm hoping if The Machine does well, it'll be proof in the pudding that you can make a comedy with Tim Dillon, Bert Kreischer, Mark Norman, Big J Okerson, all these great comics, Tom Segura, Joey Diaz. You can make it for $30 million and make money back. That's why I'm being serious when I say this. If you're listening, go out to the movies this Saturday, this Sunday, tonight. Go out to the movies and support comedy, live comedy in supporting this movie, because if this pops, dude, that opens the floodgates for everyone, because every studio will throw 20 million at a comic and let them make their thing.
The Machine opens May 25th, and it's only in theaters. And so, but this was a bit that you used to do in your, because I've seen a couple different versions of it. Did the story improve? Like, did you learn how to tell it better? Or did the first time you go out, did you just tell it as not even a joke? Like, how did it start? And can you let the guys here on the show who don't know the story kind of know what it's about?
Yeah. When I was 22 years old, I got involved with the Russian mafia. We robbed a train. We robbed my class. And it sounds ridiculous. The first time I ever told it was on Loveline, and it was a kid from my class calling in to Dr. Drew saying, "Hey, why don't you tell him about the time you robbed your class in Russia?" And that time I just told it, just facts. Like, and then as I told it, I tell it on other radio shows, like piece by piece, and it would get better as you improve it. Just little things that either you remembered or you were like, "Oh, I don't need to share all of that." And then I told it on Rogan, and I never told it on stage. I told it on Rogan, and Rogan's like, "You need to tell this on stage." I was like, "Man, I'm not gonna. It's not a stage story." And he, on his podcast, this is the early beginnings of Rogan, he told all his fans, "You are to go out to his shows. You are to chant the machine until he tells this. From this day forward, this man is only to be known as the machine. Chant the machine until he tells it." That weekend in Columbus, the audience would not stop. And they were like, "Come on, Bert, we'll fake laugh. You got to do it, Bert. You got to do it." And so that first weekend, I told it, and it sucked. It was 20 minutes long, and it sucked for a solid year, Bobby. Like, it sucked so bad that I at one point I was like, "This isn't going to work." And then one night I found the fix. The fix was the tag at the end of the joke. I don't. It's dirty, so I'll save it. But I used to think the end of the joke was "Tonight you party with us," but it wasn't. For whatever reason, the audience dictates how a story goes. And once I found the end, I changed my comedy entirely. Like, everything clicked in an instant. And the end was "F that B, this is Russia," right? That's the end. Because then the audience would applaud and go, "It's over, you're done." And man, it changed the way I did stand-up. It changed so much. I was trying to be like a Dane Cook ripoff. Like, look, all of us were. Dane was so impressive. And I wanted to be young. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to talk about drugs and edgy stuff. And then all of a sudden I told that story and I realized a good story is a good story. I can tell a story about my daughter. I can tell a story about my dad. I can tell a story about my wife, about just the simplest stuff. And it changed literally the way I did everything. If you look at like The Machine, it's on Netflix right now. You can see hints of old Bert. When you go to Secret Time, that is after I learned how to tell the machine, and that is who I am today.
So run the plot of the movie here. So, is it exactly like the story? I mean, you got some fun, and you got the guy from Star Wars in the movie too. So
you got the guy from Star Wars.
Yeah. So do the plot here, just so we know what we're getting into here.
Okay. I'll tell you this. This is the interesting part. Is when I went to sell it to Legendary, I pitched him 2 other movies, and he bought those movies. He's like, "All right, which one do you want to make?" And I was like, "Well, if you tell me I can make a movie, I don't want to make The Machine." And he's like, "Yeah, why didn't you pitch that?" I was like, "I don't know. So I'm afraid it would be good and I get kidnapped by the Russian mafia." And he was like, "Sold. That's our movie. That's our movie." So the movie is a reimagining of that bit, my viral bit that's like 80 million views. This movie is a reimagining of that. So the story is me and my father, played by Mark Hamill, aka Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Me and my father get kidnapped by the Russian mafia, and we get taken back to Russia by the mafia to atone for the crimes of my past. For me, so the story of me robbing the train, I did something really wrong on that, and now I got to go back to Russia and pay for that. And it really is what I love about this movie, and what I loved about it's an old school action comedy, like Midnight Run. Like, Midnight Run is just a good story that happens to be funny. Romancing the Stone, that's a good story that happens to be funny. Like the Last Boy Scout. Like, there's great action comedies that, like, I love that genre. Straight comedies are, man, that is a tough. That you got to nod to those guys. Like, leave it to Waititi, that guy that does The Thing. But so it's an action comedy. It's me and Mark Hamill, and we get kidnapped by the Russian mafia, and it's just a wild ride.
So then let me ask this, be one of my final questions. I would be afraid that somebody in Russia would actually, if you are offensive to Russian mobsters, which why wouldn't you be? It's hilarious, that someone would like hack your crap just to show you don't mess with Russia.
Yeah. Well, let's not put that in the universe, Bobby.
I'll be freaking out. I'll be like, I started talking about North Korea once. I stopped mid-sentence and I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to stop. I just don't want to deal with the hackers of North Korea trying to get into my life. So
Well, I'll tell you what, I live pretty clean. I do. I mean, I don't have many secrets. I mean, I'm sure I do have a few. I'm sure once they hack your mainframe, you're like, oh, I got a lot of secrets. Oh, I got a lot of secrets. But if Putin takes it upon himself and he goes, this is my mission, I'm going to ruin this kid. I'm 50. What am I talking about? I guess to him, I'm a kid. Then I think this movie will do very well at the box office.
Okay. I think it's very funny. Good luck. Good luck to you. Would you ever go to Russia and promote this?
So I tried, and my wife put the kibosh on it. I was like, yo, let me take a screener to Putin. You know, I'm not really big in the news, Bobby. I'm not big in the news. And so I didn't realize they were kidnapping, they were arresting journalists. And I was like, yeah, I'll just go to Russia. I've been there before. It's not that bad. And she's like, no, they're locking up journalists. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not a journalist. I'm just a comedian. And they're like, yeah, they'd trade you for an arms dealer in a heartbeat.
Yeah, they poison you quick. While you get bumped, all of a sudden you're poisoned. That's what they do over there. Or you jump out of a window.
I know. I watched that. I was on Netflix. Did you watch that on Netflix?
I watched it on the news. I don't know. What'd you watch on Netflix?
There's a whole documentary about the people getting knocked off by Bobby. Why are we even talking about this? We're put in the universe, Bobby.
I'm just telling you how I feel. That's what I would be scared about. Okay,
Keep that inside, Bobby. Keep that inside. You're the guy in an orgy going, should we wear condoms?
You know what? You're right. And I am that guy.
Hey, Bobby, can I ask you something?
No, I don't know, Bert.
How come I don't do your show more often?
You've never offered up to come on the show, so I don't know the answer.
I'm a fan, and I always wonder why I never do this.
You've never said, "Hey, can I come on the show?" Not one time. So how do I know that you want to come on the show if I never know? How come you never had me on the podcast? Well, because I've never said, Bobby, "Hey, can I be on the podcast?"
Will you be on my podcast?
No, this is not real life. We're on the air, and so we do fake stuff. Like you invited me to your podcast, and then I hit you up afterward, and you're like, "No, here, talk to my PR person." And they go, "Oh, he's busy."
Bobby,
that's exactly what would happen.
I'm going to put it in I'm going to make this happen. I want you to be a guest bear.
Okay. Look, this is fun. This is a fun bit, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun bit. We're having fun. It's Bert. Bert's funny. Take his shirt off.
You know I'm being real.
He did take his shirt off. All right, there we go.
Okay.
Look at these delts, Bobby. I'm jacked.
Dang, dude, you are jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on testosterone.
Are you? I know. I'm asking a real question because I did not expect you to have. By the way, he's got the muscles on his neck at a level that I've never seen them. Are you lifting?
I benched 285 this morning.
One time or multiple?
One time. Oh yeah, one time.
I don't know. I can do 225 like 6. So I don't know. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Bobby, let's do a little boys' weekend. You come out to LA, we'll work out. I'll have you on my cooking show. We'll do 2 bears, guest bears. You can shoot me up with tea.
This is never gonna happen. I would love to. Yes, the answer is yes. It's a bit, right? Absolutely.
No, it's not a bit, Bobby.
Absolutely.
It's not a bit.
Okay. Listen, everybody, go watch The Machine. It's in theaters. A fully loaded comedy festival, by the way. Go check it out, too. We're going to post all the links up on our social. You can go to bertbertbert.com or fullyloadedbert.com. No, fullyloadedfestival.com. There you go. I don't even know what to say. But, yeah, I'll be over. Heck, I'll be over today. So there he is. Hey, Bert, there he is. Bert, everybody. All right, go watch The Machine. It's in theaters, and we'll be back in a second.